heroic deeds and base treacheries. Thayer's quest. The fantasy is yours.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the arcade. Today we got a really special game. This is Thayer's Quest. It's a Laserdisc game made by Rick Dyer, the same guy who made Dragon's Lair and Space Ace, etc. This is a really rare game. It's a really special game. It's not like any other arcade game you've probably ever seen. I myself, I knew the name of this game before I'd ever seen the arcade machine. Through MAME and through the Daphne project and things like that, but I've never actually played it, and if I did try and play it, I didn't understand it, or it didn't work with the controls, because as you can see, this has an actual keyboard on it, right? So it's, you've got tons of buttons to push here. It's got to be one of the first RPGs, well, it's definitely not the first one ever made, but in the arcade it might be the only, legit RPG. I know there's King's Quest and all those text adventure games that came out on the computer, but this game's really special. This one came out in the arcade. And a little history lesson, and I've learned a ton since I got this game, just because I'm fascinated by Rick Dyer and Dragon's Lair and everything that comes with that. And if you just YouTube his name, you'll find out all this interesting stuff and what an interesting person he was. But he took all of his money that he had gotten, through Dragon's Lair and other stuff. I don't know where he got all his money, but he took it all, he and his wife, and they made this company. So they were going to take the Laserdisc games like they had in the arcade, and they were going to make a home console for it. And they actually did it. So they got this office building, they hired all these people, they made this Laserdisc game, I think it's called The Howl, and actually they made versions of it that you can sometimes see on eBay, and they're really expensive. But the problem was, so they were going to make this Laserdisc home console. But in the 80s, imagine how expensive that would have been. So they made this Laserdisc home console, ended up being too expensive, and I guess it didn't have as many pre-sales as it needed to be successful. And so what they did is, as a last effort, and anybody, if I'm messing this up, please let me know. But anyway, as a last-ditch effort, they took those home consoles, and because Rick Dyer knew Dragon's Lair and, obviously had connections, they took those home consoles and they put them in Dragon's Lair cabinets. So you can see this looks exactly like a Dragon's Lair or an early Space Ace before they made the dedicated inverted Space Ace. And so they reworked Dragon's Lair to play Thayer's Quest, and they put a keyboard on here. And I'll show you later, but if you look in the back, it's basically a Dragon's Lair board, and it's got all sorts of modifications on it, and a little, a couple of weird things that make this cabinet interesting. Anyway, like a lot of arcade collectors, and Retro Ralph just did a great video on this. I'll post a link to it. But basically, you get into this hobby and you start buying things, not necessarily because you like them, but it's rare, and you've never seen it before. And that's kind of the case with this. Now, obviously, I had a reason for wanting this because it's Rick Dyer and it's tied to Dragon's Lair. But basically, I was sitting at work, I had some really good news with my friends, and I was on a caffeine high. And since I've been in this hobby, when something like this pops up, people just link my name to it. And I started getting all these notifications on Facebook. And all of a sudden, I saw this game, and I knew what Thayer's Quest was, but I didn't know enough about it. And, it's like that rush. People are putting your name on it, and you're like, man, I don't even know what that is. Should I buy that? And then I'm like, screw it. And so I messaged the guy, and I bought it, and it's cheap for a Thayer's Quest, actually. And it showed up, and, I thought it was a little too good to be true, and sure enough, it was. It showed up, and, this monitor is actually a TV monitor. It's not an arcade monitor. So somebody took this out of a TV and put it in here, and it's not the best TV. And a lot of the boards weren't tied together. They were just flopping around in the insides. And so it's taken me about 2.5 months to get it working properly. And in that sense, I'm really happy it came to me, because I get so OCD with this stuff. I look at it as like I'm its caretaker and I need to take care of it and fix it. So that's what I did. And here it is. I've finally gotten to play it this last week. I'm not an expert by any means, but it's a really cool game. This shouldn't even be an arcade game, honestly. This is a game that you want to like sit down with a drink and think about while you're playing. I can't imagine playing this in an arcade because it's way too complicated. You know, the voices are telling you what to do. You've even got a headphone jacks here and a volume control for people who want to go to the arcade, sit down, and really pay attention to what's going on. And this is actually one of the original pamphlets. So they would post this in arcades because they knew the game was going to be too complicated for an arcade. And so you would have to pick one of these up just to learn how to play the game. So as you can imagine, it being that complicated, I don't think it did very well. I'm pretty sure it didn't. It's not really a quarter muncher. You know, you put a quarter in, you get like 5 or 7 minutes of time to play the game. And that's it. No arcade operator wants that. If you put in like $5 in this, you could probably play it for an hour, which they definitely don't want. Anyway, it's a really unique thing. It was created by Rick Dyer, and you know, it was kind of a last gasp effort to keep his company alive. I assume, you know, it was a last ditch effort, and I don't think there's many of these left. At least that I've never seen one until this one. I know some other collectors have them. They don't talk about them. They don't show them. Maybe it's not because it's, I don't know, it's not a flashy game. But it's super interesting, and let's check out some gameplay. Okay, so here's what it's like booting up Thayer's Quest for the first time.
Save your initializing system. This spinning book. Please wait.
Alright, let's check out some gameplay on Thayer's Quest.
Press any key to continue. Enter your name, please. S-T-E-V-E. Enter. Steve, did I say your name right, Steve? Yes.
Thayer's Quest. Thayer, choose an exit quickly or fail this test of magic.
3. Congratulations, Steve. You have one bonus time.
You are my last hope to find the relics of Quoid and renew the magic that grows old as I do. But until you hold the relics, be cautious in your use of magic. It can turn against you.
I understand, Druce.
I can only give you this pouch, which holds my last 3 spells. A spell of understanding, of seeing, and a spell of release. Once you use these spells, they are forever gone. Now choose where in the kingdom of Wygard you wish to begin. The village of Glendo, where once you lived. The haunted waterfalls. Or the Eldridge Forest.
2.
Thayer, I remember when you were but a child. Don't you know the guild lords now rule the village? For the sake of your dead mother. Do not trust them.
Three.
Friend, can you help me?
Bruce sent you, didn't he? Just like the others. Well, I've heard stories of a relic hidden in the forest in the castle of Crystal. Now go! This place is dangerous.
One.
You are the Dryads?
Yes, and we know of your quest. Quoid was our friend, and we offer you the help of our wood elf staff.
Congratulations, still you have one bonus time.
Take this staff to the fairy circle in the forest and give it to the fairies.
Pretty sure I screwed up.
One. One.
I've heard that kind of singing before. The fairies must be here.
So I'm going to use the spell of seeing to see the fairies.
I don't think that spell helped much.
But see, he said it didn't help much, and I need that. I can only use it once, so I think I'm screwed here.
You have returned that which will give us shielding from Sorsabal. Therefore, we now show you the Castle of Crystal. Goodbye, friends.
So, let's just do it.
Four.
Familiars!
You something next time. You just died. Still, you have but one life.
Alright, let's get some close-up shots of Thayer's Quest. So, like all Laserdisc games, you have the option to put the TV on top, just like Thayer's Quest. Marquee, keyboard, and then coin door, etc. But, so the side art is just Rick Dyer Institutions or Industries, something like that. Video Systems, so RDI, so it doesn't have like the Dragon Slayer stuff. And same here. This is actually a Dragon Slayer scoreboard. It's just covered with the artwork for RDI Video Systems, which is kind of interesting. And it tells you right here that even if you beat this, there's going to be a sequel in the arcade. Obviously the sequel never came, but they did release it on DVD, which you can buy on eBay, I'm told. And then here's the back. We've got a standard, just like Dragon Slayer, scoreboard PCB, speakers, TV monitor. This is not actually an arcade monitor. The reason for that is because you got the video and audio outputs on the board. I'm going to replace this. So, a kind soul on KLOV. He reproduced the boards that take the signal and can put it to an arcade monitor, which is super sweet. And I bought one of those, thank God. Power supply. Here I'm running the Dexter, but it is sitting on a working Laserdisc with a Laserdisc, Thayer's Disc Laserdisc that actually works. And then here you've got the Thayer's Quest PCB. And it's interesting is the thing that caused me so much problems with this is you got audio in and audio out. It all comes through the board, and that controls the computer voice. But the audio actually goes to the front port up here through the headphone jack, and then it goes to the speakers. So there was some funky workarounds that they did on here, and I learned all that in my troubleshooting. And this one, the stereo audio didn't work, and what it ended up being is a broken wire. You see a gray wire and a black wire. I had to buy an extra black wire, put Molex on it, put pins on it, and then re-put it back in the Molex. And that was the result of 2.5 months of troubleshooting. Just a broken wire. That's how it goes with arcade collecting. Anyways, that's the insides of Thayer's Quest. Alright, so there you have it. Look, I could talk all night about this game. There's so many interesting things about it. As a game, it's really cool. It's very challenging. It kind of reminds me of this game we used to play on the PlayStation called Silverload. That's a pretty obscure game. I don't know if a lot of people played it. It's probably not fondly remembered, but I remember it fondly because my friends and I, we stayed up late for weekends, forever it felt like, trying to figure out how to beat that game. And we would call the hotline and things like that. And actually at one point I said, hey, look, your game is broken, it doesn't work. And they said, no, it's not broken. And it turns out like 20 years later, my brother and I got a copy of that game and we played it with a walkthrough. And there was so many points where the game would let you keep playing, but you didn't know that you'd already lost. And Thayer's Quest is kind of like that. But the good thing about Thayer's Quest is even if you mess up, like, you know, if you use one of these main spells when you're first playing the game and it doesn't say congratulations, or you use it at the wrong spot, you're screwed. But the good thing is, if you die, the game starts you over at the beginning with you still have time left to play. So you can redo any mistakes that you made. And like if you get poisoned or you get fatigued, you can go to the water and heal yourself. You can re-pick up items, you know, if you screw up sometimes. So it's very forgiving in that manner. This game was way ahead of its time. Like, I know if you play Baldur's Gate 3, which is amazing, right? But back then, the fact that you can meet the same person twice and it gives you 2 different results, or multiple results in some cases, is amazing. Like, they really thought this game through. And that's why it's so impressive. And for me, you know, growing up with these games, to play something like this, it's super cool, right? I can imagine kids born today, they wouldn't care less. But if you were there and you didn't have something like this, and you understand what a leap forward this game was, you know, even when we're filming this, I'm watching people's faces like, no way. Like, I can't believe that they actually did that. That's true, because, you know, this was really something special back then, and it's too bad that it wasn't more successful. It's super innovative, obviously, with the keyboard. And we were just talking about it. I think, you know, this was probably too much for the average person to play in an arcade. You go to an arcade, you don't want to sit and think, you want to kill things and, you know, and play something quick, like a Galaga or a Defender, or, you know, whatever you want to play. This is not that. This is not a game that you're going to casually play in an arcade and have fun. It requires thought, patience. You got to remember it. You know, I sit with a chair and a beer and I play this game, and I think about it at night when I go to sleep, like, what did I do wrong, right? So it's very much a single player game, and it's really cool. If you ever have a chance to play it, check it out. And I was really excited. I saw that, and I'll put a link on the video. The guy had actually watched my preview video of this, but they have reproduced this in Maine. So they have the digital keyboard and everything that you can play. The only difference I noticed was that the voice of the computer was completely different. But, you know, beggars can't be choosers. Like, it's a miracle that somebody took the time to actually make that. So kudos to that guy. I'm going to put a link to that in the video so everybody can try that, because even if you found this at a barcade, I wouldn't put it out there, right? Like, these keyboards are super fragile and super hard to find, and I have 2 backups, which I was lucky to find, but they're tore up compared to this one. So this is not the type of thing that you'd want to put on a floor. And if you did, I would only let, like, VIPs play it, or, you know, people that are in the hobby. It's not something for general consumption. And I'm not trying to be elitist or anything when I say that. It's just the fact of the matter of, these aren't going to last very long if you let 300 people touch it a day. That's just the facts of life. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and like I said, there's so much more that I haven't covered about this game and Rick Dyer and all the stuff that he accomplished and why this is amazing. But I didn't see anything else on YouTube about it, and I hope that this inspires people to go learn a little bit more about it, to try it on MAME, and to play all other Laserdisc games, which are awesome. So anyways, that's Thayer's Quest on a dedicated cabinet, and I hope you had a good time, and we'll see you on the next one.
Ho, fellow!
Who are you?
Nigel the Huntsman. I know much of these woods. For example, I know that the Crystal of Lothar will enable you to overcome the familiars. Come back sometime and I'll share a story with you.
Pretty sure it's this one.
Sorry.